President Lee Jae-myung wrapped up his U.S. trip with a visit to the Hanwha Philly Shipyard, where he highlighted ROK-U.S. shipbuilding collaboration. He'll be back in Seoul early on Thursday. And following the summit with his South Korea counterpart, U.S. President Donald Trump says Seoul honored its trade agreement with Washington, despite what Trump described as a, quote, problem that South Korea had. Global leaders and top firms gather in South Korea's port city of Busan to tackle the world's pressing climate challenges, with South Korea taking a leading role in realizing a global green transition. We begin tonight with President Lee Jae-myung's final stop on his U.S. trip at the Hanwha Philly Shipyard, a symbol of South Korea-U.S. shipbuilding cooperation. Our presidential office correspondent Song Yoo-jin files this report from Philadelphia.
This is the state of Maine, a $300 million vessel ordered by the U.S. Maritime Administration and built at the Hanwha Philly Shipyard in Philadelphia. President Lee Jae-myung traveled from Washington, D.C. to attend Tuesday's naming ceremony, underscoring his push to expand South Korea-U.S. shipbuilding cooperation, a key focus of his summit with President Donald Trump at the White House the day before.
미국 조선업과 대한민국 조선업이 함께 도약하는 윈윈의 성과를 만들어낼 것이고, 오늘의 새로운 출항은 한미 양국이 단단한 우정으로 써내려가는 또 하나의 희망과 도전의 역사로 기록될 것입니다.
The state of Maine is a prime example of the Make American Shipbuilding Great Again project, combining Korean design and equipment with U.S. facilities and workers. This national security multi-mission vessel will serve as a training ship for American maritime academies and conduct rescue missions during emergencies. Its birthplace, the Hanwha Philly Shipyard, was acquired by Korea's Hanwha Group last December and has become the symbol of this bilateral partnership.
최첨단 선박 기술을 보여주는 미국 최고의 조선소로 거듭날 것이고, 미국 해안벨트 곳곳에서 조선업이 다시 살아날 것입니다. 72년 역사의 한미 동맹은 안보 동맹, 경제 동맹, 기술 동맹이 합쳐진 미래형 포괄적 전략 동맹의 새 장을 열게 될 것입니다.
Together with our partners in the United States and following both President Trump's and President Lee's vision to revitalize the maritime industry, we look forward to new investments, new opportunities, and to playing a central role in making American shipbuilding great again.
Following the ceremony, President Lee toured the yard where he asked U.S. officials to ensure smooth operations for Korean shipmakers doing business in America. So with this, President Lee has wrapped up his busy three-day visit to the U.S. Korea's Air Force One jet will return home early on Thursday. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News, Philadelphia.
Also on Tuesday, President Lee visited the Arlington National Cemetery to pay tribute to fallen soldiers and a memorial house in Philadelphia to honor a Korean independence activist. Our top office correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports from D.C.
President Lee Jae-myung began the final day of his U.S. trip by visiting the Arlington National Cemetery near Washington. A 21-gun salute was fired from near the cemetery. The president laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier with his name on it. He was accompanied by First Lady Kim Hae-kyung, Foreign Minister Cho Hyun, and the U.S. Chief of Protocol, Monica Crowley. The cemetery is where thousands of U.S. service members are laid to rest. Later in the day, he and the First Lady traveled to Philadelphia and visited the Philip Jason Memorial House to honor a Korean independence activist. Lee said he hoped the Memorial House would continue its role and inform future generations of the history of Korea's independence movement, while contributing to the local community. Also known as Pil, Philip Jason was not only an activist, but a doctor, journalist, and the first Korean to gain citizenship in the U.S. It's the first time in 26 years that a South Korean president has visited the Memorial House. As the president concludes his week-long overseas trip, his message was evident for those who sacrifice themselves to save and defend the country. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News, Washington, D.C.
Following his summit with President Yi, U.S. President Donald Trump says Seoul and Washington will stick to the trade deal signed last month, even though there was what he called a problem. Lee Seung-ja has the details.
A day after he held summit talks with South Korean President Lee Jae-myung in Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump said Tuesday that Seoul has honored its trade agreement with Washington, despite what he described as a problem that South Korea had.
I heard there was a problem with South Korea, but we met yesterday and they're done. We didn't do anything. We just kept the same deal. He honored the deal they wanted.
Speaking at a cabinet meeting, Trump highlighted a series of trade agreements his administration has reached to reduce America's trade deficits and increase federal revenue. He also noted that Seoul wanted to see if they could do something, but stuck to the agreement in the end. President Trump did not elaborate on the problems surrounding the deal. Meanwhile, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick highlighted Trump's success through his trade policies. Lutnick announced that South Korea and Japan will be making massive investments in the U.S., totaling $900 billion.
Japan and Korea, they're never going to open their markets to us. So we've negotiated $900 billion that they're giving you to invest in national and economic security in America.
According to Lutnick, South Korea has agreed to invest $350 billion, while Japan will contribute $550 billion. In exchange, Washington will lower certain tariffs. The secretary said the funds will be pooled into a new National Economic Security Fund, which the administration intends to use for major infrastructure development projects. He praised the deals as a clear example of how tariffs are delivering results for the American economy. Still, questions remain. While Japan's investment plan is expected to be announced later this week, details of South Korea's $350 billion commitment have yet to be outlined. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo remain united in their joint efforts to counter the activist activities of North Korea's IT workers. This, according to a statement issued after a joint forum held in Tokyo this week. The three countries noted how Pyongyang's workforce engaged in illicit cyber activities to fund the regime's nuclear and missile programs. Such workers are typically engaged in the blockchain sector and find remote work by hiding their nationalities, exposing their employers to legal and intellectual property risks. South Korea, the U.S. and Japan reaffirmed their commitment to enhancing their coordination and pledged to work closely with the private sector. So President Lee Jae-myung and U.S. President Donald Trump held their first summit at the White House this week. Their talks made headlines with statements on North Korea diplomacy, economic cooperation, and more. Now, going forward, important issues remain for Seoul's diplomacy. For more, we turn to our foreign affairs correspondent, Oh Soo-young. Welcome back, Soo-young.
Hi, Dami.
So, Soo-young, let's start by briefly going over the achievements of the two-leader summit. Perhaps the biggest success was the trust created between the two leaders.
Right, and we both watched that as we covered it, live at this very studio very early in the morning in Seoul yesterday. And the mood was remarkably friendly as we saw the two leaders strike up a warm personal relationship as President Lee reminded President Trump of his diplomatic achievements with North Korea and asked him to revive his role in achieving peace on the Korean Peninsula. Now, President Trump responded very positively, saying that he hoped to meet Kim Jong-un before the end of the year and even expressed his willingness to do so by attending the APEC leaders meeting in South Korea this October. The two leaders also agreed to deeper cooperation in shipbuilding and economic cooperation. Quite remarkably, though, sensitive issues were not raised, or at least not made public after the summit, primarily sticking points in trade and what kind of ways the two allies will modernize their security cooperation.
That's right. We saw a great progress, but I do have to say, not much clarification on the trade front, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So on the trade front, we didn't see any clarification, really, not much clarification, and we didn't see any new deals. And in fact, US demands for more market access in Korean agriculture and fisheries, they weren't addressed at all. And President Lee's spokesperson said that it was because the atmosphere was just so good that while there was a clear plan to begin with trade discussions, the two leaders actually proceeded to hold very close and personal talks. So in a way, that may be good news for Seoul, but at the same time, it means there are no adjustments to the agreement reached in late July when Seoul accepted a flat 15% US tariff on Korean imports in exchange for a $350 billion investment package in the United States. Now, within that package, about $150 billion is earmarked for shipbuilding under what's been dubbed as the Make America Shipbuilding Great Again initiative. However, there's uncertainty over what's going to be done with the remaining $200 billion. Now, President Trump has said that the US has full control of where that money will go, but Seoul has obviously indicated otherwise. And what was agreed during the summit is that the two governments will pursue a non-binding memorandum of understanding in the coming weeks, so specifying how the $350 billion will be managed, and it will likely touch upon issues like governance and profit sharing and whether investments are loans or equities, those kind of technical details.
Based on President Trump's remarks, it seems Korea raised objections about the trade agreement, but he said the existing deal should be kept as it is. Based on America's deals with other countries, the UK, the EU, Japan, it seems the process of specifying the details will take at least 6 months and possibly more than 2 years.
Soo-young, let us now turn to North Korea. Lee and Trump are trying to make a meeting with Kim Jong-un happen. Now, any signs that this is gaining traction?
Well, after the summit in Seoul, Unification Minister Chang Dong-yeong, he said that this raises hope for an early resumption of dialogue. But he did emphasize that certain conditions must be created first. He noted that since President Trump is unlikely to visit Korea again next year, the APEC occasion should be seized as an opportunity for a potential meeting with Kim Jong-un. Now, given how the minister has previously pushed for the revival of the Inter-Korean military hotline and also to make some dovish gestures, he's likely to keep pressing ahead for such actions to happen. And what will be the result, we simply don't know. We've, of course, addressed this before, Tammy, but North Korea doesn't seem interested in dialogue with Seoul for now. But it does, though, appear at least open to talks with the US. So Pyongyang's official media today, it criticized President Lee's recent commitment to the concept of denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, calling him a, quote, confrontational maniac who is, quote, seized by denuclearization paranoia.
Well, speaking of testy relations, Soo-young, I do have to ask, how is Seoul balancing its ties with China?
Well, it's been quite a tricky week, actually, Tanya, because this year marks the 33rd anniversary of South Korea and Beijing's bilateral ties, and that landmark actually fell upon the weekend, which was Sunday. Right. So President Lee, he actually sent some envoys there for the occasion, and Beijing has been following the summit very closely, particularly the implications of a possible alliance modernization and South Korea and America's cooperation in shipbuilding, because China sees American presence on the Korean Peninsula as a direct security concern, and perhaps reflecting this unease, Chinese media outlet Global Times argued this week that South Korea will not gain respect unless it develops strategic autonomy from the US. And well, perhaps to put Beijing at ease and also, again, mark their bilateral anniversary, President Lee's special delegation to Beijing, they were there over the weekend, as mentioned, and it was led by former National Assembly Speaker Park Byung-seok and the son of former President Roh Tae-woo, his name is Roh Jae-yeon. Those two were part of the delegation, and they delivered a letter from President Lee, which called for bilateral ties to develop into a mature relationship, but also making clear that Seoul will reinforce its alliance with Washington. So this dual-track approach, it seems to be part of President Lee's so-called pragmatic diplomacy. So he's here acknowledging that South Korea cannot make this exclusive choice between Washington and Beijing because it needs to maintain workable relations with both countries.
Well, a big week for President Lee's, like you said, pragmatic diplomacy. We'll see how he deals with the remaining challenges. Soo-young, thanks for coming in tonight.
Thanks for having me, Tammy.
It's the Energy Super Week down in Busan City. International energy events are taking place to explore ways to make the world greener. Our Kim Do-yeon tells us more.
The World Climate Industry Expo, a key 2025 Energy Super Week event, kicked off on Wednesday, drawing together global leaders and top companies to tackle the world's pressing climate challenges. In his opening address, Prime Minister Kim Min-seok announced South Korea's ambition to lead the global green transition by developing infrastructure like energy highways.
The new South Korean government has launched a national energy transition project. We are leading the way by building energy highways, expanding our power grid, and shifting our focus to renewables. Through these efforts, we will achieve carbon neutrality, strengthen our energy security, and drive economic growth all at the same time.
The opening ceremony saw government representatives from 32 countries, as well as top executives from tech and energy giants like Google, Microsoft, Siemens, and Hyundai Motor. And in front of the crowd, the Prime Minister also highlighted the Expo's central theme, the critical link between the energy sector and artificial intelligence.
This Expo's theme is AI for energy and energy for AI. Developing artificial intelligence requires a stable energy supply, and in turn, AI technology is essential for energy innovation. This fusion of energy and AI will be the breakthrough we need to overcome the climate and energy crisis.
But the Expo is just one part of the Super Week in Busan. Happening in parallel is the 15th APEC Energy Ministerial Meeting, where top energy officials from the 21 member economies are gathered. For the next 2 days, they will be tackling critical issues like strengthening energy security, modernizing power grids, and finding stable energy solutions to power the world's growing demand from data centers. Officials say these ministerial talks are a crucial stepping stone, with South Korea's energy minister calling them a strong bridge that will help set the agenda for the main APEC Leaders Summit this October. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
And this Energy Super Week is not just about making the world greener. It's also about ensuring energy becomes more sustainable. And with artificial intelligence, there could be infinite possibilities for achieving this. Our Park Junan reports from Busan.
With AI on the rise, can the world keep up with the soaring demand for energy? The 2025 World Climate Industry Expo in Busan is tackling that very question, showcasing how far we've come and how much work still lies ahead.
Today, in the world, there is a big race among the major economic powers in terms of being a leader for AI. The AI can help us in order to maximize the utilization rate of the grids by optimization. There is no AI without energy, but AI can also have the energy.
During the interview, Regional President of RWE's Asia Pacific Division, Jens Orfeld, shared his vision about the growing demand for energy for AI and ways to sustainably acquire energy.
It's very energy intensive, and therefore if we use conventional energy resources to power AI, there's a significant risk that AI becomes part of the problem in an energy transition point of view. And therefore it's very, very important that as we advance AI, that we also advance the technologies that will ensure that it's based on sustainable energy consumption.
The company also mentioned that creating energy can help solve the Korean government's and companies' high dependency on energy imports.
A major advantage is also domesticating your energy production, making yourself less vulnerable for imports, and thereby increasing your energy security, which is a very, very important point in the current geopolitical environment as well.
And some exhibitions are doing just that as they showcase their newest technology to produce cleaner energy. As you can see here, turbines like this use only natural gas to generate electricity. The company said it plans to develop hydrogen-powered turbines by 2028, which have zero carbon emissions. It's not only the energy producers that are concerned with the global climate crisis. Tech giants like Nvidia, Google, and Microsoft were present to demonstrate their vision of addressing energy security concerns and adopting AI to combat climate challenges.
So our goal is to deliver more and more performance for each watt that our customers use. So AI is here, that's inevitable, and it requires energy. And the way we tackle those is, number one, to make sure that we have access to energy for the AI so that we can solve the solutions, so that we can utilize AI for the public good as soon as possible.
The application of AI and its technology is reshaping not only how we live and work, but also how we power our world. It's the ultimate chicken and egg question. AI needs energy, and energy needs AI to be sustainable. Park Junan, Arirang News, Busan.
Business sentiment in South Korea surged to a 9-month high in August, marking its first increase in 3 months. The Bank of Korea announced on Wednesday that its Composite Business Sentiment Index for all industries recorded 91 in August, up 1.4 points from the previous month. The central bank attributed this increase to eased uncertainties following a high-stakes tariff agreement with the U.S. and a strong exports performance, particularly in semiconductors and automobiles. The index measures corporations' outlook on overall business conditions, with a reading below 100 indicating that pessimists outnumber optimists. South Korea saw the fastest increase in the number of newborns on record in June. According to Statistics Korea on Wednesday, more than 19,000 babies were born in June, up 9.4% year-on-year. This was the steepest year-on-year increase for any June and the 12th consecutive month of growth. The agency attributed the upward trend to a continued rise in marriages since the first quarter of last year, an increase in the population of women in their 30s wanting children, and a more positive perception of childbirth. Now, meanwhile, the country's total fertility rate, the average number of children per woman for June, increased 0.06 from a year earlier to 0.76. A royal ritual reimagined on stage ilmu, or one dance, blends tradition with modern artistry. The Seoul Metropolitan Dance Theater's striking performance is drawing full houses and preparing to tour beyond the capital. Our Pyun Young tells us more.
Dancers in perfect unison, creating geometric shapes that expand, contract, vanish, then reappear. Ilmu, meaning one dance, is a modern take on the ancestral rites once performed for Joseon Dynasty kings and queens at Jongmyo Shrine. It's presented by the Seoul Metropolitan Dance Theater, reimagining Jongmyo Jereak, a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage.
It's a piece built on the idea of setting aside the individual, placing oneself within order, and joining a unified dance with the hope that everything will come together in harmony.
This year marks its 4th run, following 3 successful seasons and sold-out shows at New York's Lincoln Center in 2023. The performance opens with the traditional ilmu dance, shifts into contemporary dance, and concludes with a modern fusion that blends the two. What never changes are the principles of unison and multiplication. Dancers move together like a single breathing organism.
Even though our dancers are from different age groups, we move and even breathe together. What seems simple on stage actually takes a lot of work and focus. So I hope the audience can feel the effort and energy we put into that harmony.
Every movement, down to the angle of the fingers, is intentional, as is the use of silence. At times, the only sounds are the slight rustle of fabric and the dancers' near-silent footsteps. The stage design is deliberately minimal, creating contrast with bold costumes inspired by 오방색, the 5 traditional colors of Korea. The beauty of emptiness and restraint is also what director Jung Gu-oh wanted to highlight in the performance.
The stage often opens up a white space at the center as props and dancers gather, scatter, empty out, and regroup. We explored choreography that reflects this constant flow, pursuing the beauty of emptiness. The stage itself was also designed to highlight that sense of space.
The 4-day run in Seoul ended with every seat sold out. Next, one dance will travel to Gangneung City and Daegu City to share its vision of tradition and modernity. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
As South Korea and Greece approach 65 years of diplomatic relations next year, tourism is emerging as a key driver of closer ties. Our Park Kwon-woo met with Greece's tourism minister during her first official visit to Seoul.
A popular travel destination, welcoming around 40 million people annually, 4 times its population.
Tourism is one of the most important sectors of the Greek economy. It's not just an economic activity, it's also a way to bring people together.
Koreans are also drawn to Greece, with sites featured in popular TV shows, including Descendants of the Sun and Grandpa's Over Flowers. In fact, the number of Korean tourists was up by 20% last year compared to 2019. And the minister hinted at further collaboration opportunities.
K-culture is in any case right now very popular around the world. There has been a new organization within the Greek government to support film production with the financial incentives for the production. We have a very good framework within which we could work together.
She also spoke about other potential collaborations.
Collaborating with museums in Greece and in a way having a dialogue between the 2 civilizations, not just exhibitions but cultural exchanges, cultural dialogue. Korea is probably right now has achieved the best way to penetrate especially the younger generations. I would like to see younger generation, younger artists collaborating.
She even gave recommendations for themes and filming sites based on Greek culture.
Greek mythology is very popular around here, that you even learn about Greek mythology in schools. All these places that you read mythology, they actually exist. At the same time, we are a very modern country, so you can enjoy the gastronomy, you can enjoy the nightlife in the vibrant cities.
Saying the tourism future is based on sustainability, the minister said the country focuses on qualitative growth instead of just the sheer number of visitors. And with that in mind, more efforts are being put in along the way, while strengthening diplomatic relations between Korea and Greece.
So the 65th anniversary of diplomatic relations, as you mentioned, between Korea and Greece is coming up. So what significance does this milestone hold, and how do you envision the future of the partnership?
Back to the times that Greeks fought in the Korean War. It's a history that we remember, you remember, and it's also important to give the messages for the future, that our freedom and our democracy were not always a given. In this respect, we share common values.
She called the anniversary a good starting point, adding that ties will strengthen in tourism, with a potential MOU expected in early 2026. Park Kwon-woo, Arirang News.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. Thanks for watching and good night.